Do you enjoy traveling? If so, think about places you would like to go. I had the opportunity of going to my cousin's ranch in South Dakota this summer for 3 weeks. I learned a bunch of different things while I was there. According to Career Explorer, in 2023, ranchers primarily raise livestock, often on a large, open range or pasture. They focus on breeding, raising animals for meat production, such as cattle. While I was in South Dakota, I was able to help out with cab brandings, training horses, and riding horses. Overall, this was a great experience, but one of my favorite parts was the cab brandings. I was able to go to 5 cab brandings while I was there, and 4 of them were different from the other one. The first 4, they corralled all the calves, and then they had a cowboy go in and rope the calves. And then the next thing that you do is what's called flanking, where you have 2 people on either side of the calf, and then you flip it to its side and pull it out of the way so you can give everything that the calf needs, including tags, brandings, the pour, and vaccines. So for the first 4, like I said, I was able to help out with the flanking part. But then at the other one, they basically just wrestled the calf and held them down right where they wrestled the calf. And again, they gave all the things that the calf needed. And while I was there at that one, I was able to help out with the vaccines. It was a little bit nerve-wracking to do the vaccines because I've never done them before. Make sure you put them in the right spot, otherwise they can be ineffective. According to SD Branding Board in 2017, when branding livestock, be sure branding is positioned correctly and placed on the proper location on the animal. Misbrandings will cause a dispute to the ownership of the animal. This is very important when I was flanking to make sure you held down the cab in the right position so the cab didn't get away and accidentally get branded on the wrong side, or even if the cab moves at all, it could affect the brand dramatically. Besides cab brandings, I was able to help out with training colts and wild horses. I learned to do this from my cousin Jennifer. My cousin Jennifer is a horse trainer and a professional barrel racer. While I was there, we helped the colts be able to get comfortable with the halter and the saddle. It's very important that a colt is comfortable with the saddle because you don't want to get on a colt and it run off with you or start bucking you, just because colts aren't used to having anything on their back. So making sure that they're comfortable with that is very important. According to the ranch, in 2023, the Ducheneau family had been on their little piece of heaven on earth ranch for over 60 years. They raised Black Angus and Brangus commercial feeder cattle and registered quarter horses. The ranch is roughly 8,000 acres, bordered by the Missouri River. It's paradise. This gives a little background to my cousin's ranch. Again, that they mainly work with cattle and horses. Another thing that I was able to do while I was there was ride the horses. But in the process of riding horses, you have to do many different things beforehand, including chores. So we had to wake up early in the morning and make sure the horses were fed and got all of the medicine that they needed, and then even mucking out stalls. And also, before you ride the horses, you have to make sure that they're all cleaned off and you brush them, and then get all the saddles and the saddle pad and the bridle on them. According to ranch operations, in 2023, the ranch hand typically has a collection of duties, such as checking herds, fence building, some equipment operation, hand irrigation, mucking out stalls, and landscaping. So again, this kind of ties back to that while I was there, I was basically a ranch hand and making sure all the chores were done, especially mucking out stalls and making sure that all the horses were taken care of like they should be. So while I was there, I learned a little bit different riding style. I've ridden horses quite a bit, but my cousin rides her horses a little bit differently. She uses her energy when she rides, and I was not necessarily used to that, so it was a little bit harder for me in the beginning. You basically have to use your energy, or otherwise the horse isn't going to move. They're going to go, oh, you don't want to ride today? Well, then I'm not going to move because I don't want to move. So you had to use your energy to make sure that you got them going, or if they didn't get the signal, then you would obviously kick them and they would eventually go. Another thing that I learned is being able to work with your horse and knowing that it's not always the horse's fault if they do something that you didn't want them to do. Like, even if you pull them in one direction and they go the opposite direction. There could be a chance that you're pulling on them in a different direction that you don't know. So technically just realizing that it's not always the horse's fault and sometimes it's on you is a very important aspect. In conclusion, while I was in South Dakota, I was able to help with cab trainings, training horses, and riding horses. If you do not enjoy traveling, did you change your mind at the end of this topic? Thank you.